The sun in Lagos was unforgiving that afternoon, the kind that made the road shimmer and the air taste like heat. I sat on the veranda steps of our compound, clutching my school bag, still in my uniform, while my father's voice thundered from inside the house. Ebel, he shouted my mother's name like it was a curse. Mama's soft voice answered from the kitchen, muffled but firm. Obinna, I told you, I'm not signing those papers. Papers. I didn't know what they were about yet, but lately, they were all my father talked about when he wasn't yelling at Mama. I was 17, and though I had seen enough arguments in our home, this one was different. The tension was heavier. My father's anger was not just about winning an argument, there was something he was desperate to hide. I walked in and found Mama standing by the table, her hands covered in flour from making puff-puff for me. Her eyes were red, but her chin was raised. My father stood across from her, sweating, holding a thick brown envelope. You will sign it now, he barked. Do you know how much trouble you will cause me if you refuse? Mama wiped her hands on her wrapper and shook her head slowly. I will not put my name on lies, Obinna. I will not tell the court that I stole money when I know you are the one who took it. My heart pounded. Stole money? Court? My father's face darkened like a storm cloud. He turned and caught me standing there. Go to your room. No, I blurted, my voice shaking but loud. Why are you trying to make Mama lie? What's going on? His eyes narrowed. Chiamaka, this is none of your business. It is my business. I shot back. She's my mother. That was the moment everything exploded. My father's hand gripped my arm so tight it hurt. If you want to stand there defending her, then you can both leave my house. Mama's gasp echoed in my ears. Obinna, she's a child. But he was already shoving me toward the door. I grabbed my bag, still confused, my cheeks burning with humiliation. He pointed outside the gate. Get out, and take your lies with you. The gate slammed shut behind me, and the world suddenly felt bigger, hotter, and emptier. I wandered aimlessly until Mama caught up with me on the street. She had packed a small bag too. I can't leave you alone, my daughter, she said softly. Her fingers trembled as she took my hand. We went to stay with Mama's friend, Auntie Rose, who lived in a cramped one-room apartment in Ajigunal. Life there was a different world, narrow streets buzzing with hawkers, the smell of fried akara mixing with gutter water, children chasing tires barefoot. It was nothing like our middle-class home. At night, Mama couldn't sleep. She sat by the window, staring into the dark. I finally asked her to tell me the truth. She sighed deeply. Your father, he's been taking money from the company's accounts for years. The court found out. He told them it was me, that I had access to his files, so now they want me to sign a confession to protect him. My stomach churned. So he wants you to take the fall? Yes. I was silent for a long time, my anger boiling. Then we have to fight back. Mama looked at me, her eyes glistening. Chiamaka, it's not that easy. He's respected in the community. Everyone will believe him. Then we'll find proof, I whispered. The next day, I skipped school and went back to our house. I knew my father would be at work. I climbed the fence at the back and slipped in through the kitchen window. The house smelled faintly of his cologne and Mama's perfume, a ghost of the life we had 2 days ago. I headed straight for his study. The mahogany desk gleamed under the sunlight. I rifled through drawers, my fingers trembling, until I found a folder marked Invoices, Private. Inside were bank statements, receipts, and letters from someone named Chief Okoro. One letter caught my eye. Obinna, as agreed, your share will be sent to the offshore account. Destroy this letter. My hands shook as I stuffed it into my bag. I was just about to leave when I heard the sound of footsteps outside. My heart slammed against my ribs. Who's there? My father's voice cut through the stillness. I froze. The front door opened. I darted into the kitchen and out the window just as his shadow fell across the corridor. My feet hit the ground hard, and I ran until my lungs burned. That night, I showed Mama what I found. She stared at the letter like it was a snake. "This is dangerous, Chiamaka. If he finds out you took this, we can give it to the court," I said firmly. But before we could act, the next blow came. 2 policemen showed up at Auntie Rose's apartment 3 days later. "Madam Ebelobina?" one of them asked coldly. "Yes," Mama said, her voice shaking. "You are under arrest for embezzlement and fraud." The sight of Mama in handcuffs burned itself into my mind. I ran after them, shouting, "She's innocent. It's my father." One of the officers turned to me. "If you have evidence, bring it to the court." That was how I found myself standing outside the Lagos State High Court a week later, clutching the brown envelope to my chest. The court building loomed over me, its white paint cracked in the heat, people milling about like ants. Inside, Mama stood in the dock, her face pale but defiant. My father sat at the other side with his lawyer, looking every bit the respectable businessman, crisp bada, gold watch glinting, lips curved in a faint smirk. When the judge asked if there were any witnesses, my legs carried me forward before my brain caught up. "I have something to say," I said loudly. My father's head snapped toward me, his eyes flashing a silent warning. But I ignored him. My hands trembled as I pulled out the letter from Chief Okoro and placed it on the evidence table. The court went silent. The judge adjusted her glasses, reading the letter. "Mr. Obina, would you care to explain this?" I could see sweat breaking out on his forehead. And then, before he could answer, his face went ashen. He staggered, clutching his chest. Gasps filled the room as he collapsed on the floor. Chaos erupted in the courtroom. The judge banged her gavel, shouting for order, but the noise only grew as people rushed toward my father's motionless body. The court clerk called for an ambulance while 2 men tried to lift him. Mama stood frozen in the dock, her eyes wide, unsure whether to feel pity or relief. I, too, was caught between the urge to run to him and the bitter knowledge of what he'd done to us. Within minutes, paramedics arrived, wheeling him out on a stretcher. I caught a glimpse of his face, eyes half open, lips twitching as though he wanted to speak. But no words came. The judge cleared her throat. "We will adjourn until Mr. Obina is medically cleared." But before that, her eyes turned to me. "This letter must be verified." Mama's lawyer, Mr. Adelik, quickly stepped forward, asking that the letter be admitted into evidence. The judge agreed, instructing the clerk to secure it until the next hearing. We left the courtroom in silence. Outside, the heat felt heavier, pressing down on me like the weight of everything that had happened. Mama placed her arm around me. "Chiamaka, you shouldn't have done that. Your father," she trailed off, her voice breaking. I turned to her. "Mama, he was ready to let you rot in prison. Would he have done the same for me?" Her silence was the answer. 2 days later, news came from the hospital. My father had survived, barely. The doctors said it was a mild heart attack, brought on by stress. But stress from what? The truth being exposed, or the fear of what else we knew? The next hearing came quickly. My father appeared in court looking weaker, but the fire in his eyes told me he wasn't done fighting. His lawyer tried to dismiss the letter as a forgery, but the court had already confirmed its authenticity. And then, like a dam breaking, more evidence started pouring in. Bank transfers, offshore account records, and witness testimonies from his former business partners. It turned out he had been running a scheme for years, siphoning money from the company's funds and framing anyone who got too close. Mama was just his latest scapegoat. The prosecutor laid it all out, piece by piece, until even the judge's expression hardened. I sat in the back, my fists clenched. I had thought this would make me feel triumphant. But as I watched my father slump in his chair, his shoulders sagging under the weight of his own lies, a strange sadness crept in. This was the man who once carried me on his shoulders, who bought me ice cream after school, who told me to aim high in life. And now, here he was, small, defeated, exposed. When Mama was called to speak, she stood tall, her voice steady. "I never wanted this," she said. "I only wanted the truth to be known. He is still the father of my child, but what he did was wrong. And wrong is wrong, no matter who does it." The court was silent. Even the air seemed to pause. The judge nodded slowly. "We will deliver the verdict at the next sitting." As we left the courtroom that day, my father's eyes met mine for the first time in weeks. There was no anger, no threat, just a hollow emptiness. And in that moment, I realized the real punishment had already begun. The day of the final verdict arrived with skies heavy and gray, as though the clouds themselves understood the weight of what was coming. The Lagos State High Court was crowded, journalists, curious onlookers, and neighbors who had once praised my father now craning their necks to see the man in disgrace. Mama held my hand tightly as we walked in. My father sat at the defense table, looking smaller than I had ever seen him. His agbada was neatly pressed, but his face carried deep lines that hadn't been there a month ago. The judge entered, and the room fell into a tense silence. She began reading the judgment slowly, each word echoing through the chamber. After reviewing all the evidence, including the letter from Chief Okoro, the financial records, and testimonies from multiple witnesses, this court finds Mr. Obinna guilty of embezzlement, fraud, and perjury. The charges against Mrs. Ebel Obinna are hereby dismissed. She is free to go. Mama closed her eyes, her grip tightening on my fingers. But the judge wasn't finished. "As for Mr. Obinna, the court sentences you to 7 years in prison, with no possibility of parole for the first 4 years. Furthermore, all illicitly obtained funds will be seized and returned to the company." The gavel struck, final and unyielding. I turned to look at my father. His lips trembled, and for a brief second, I thought I saw tears glisten in his eyes. But he quickly looked away, his pride refusing to let him break in front of everyone. As the officers approached to take him into custody, he asked to speak to Mama. She hesitated, then nodded. They stood face to face, two people who had once loved each other, now separated by betrayal and years of pain. His voice was low, almost broken. "Ebel, I never thought it would come to this. You made your choices, Obinna," Mama replied gently. "And now you must live with them." He turned to me then, his gaze heavy. "Chiamaka. I'm sorry." I wanted to say something, anything, but the words stuck in my throat. Part of me wanted to forgive him, but another part still burned with anger. Before I could decide, the officers led him away, his figure disappearing down the corridor. Outside the court, reporters swarmed around us, asking questions, shoving microphones forward. Mama said only one thing: the truth will always come out, no matter how long it takes. No one is above it. That night, back in Auntie Rose's small apartment, the three of us sat in silence. The city outside was alive with its usual chaos, horns blaring, vendors shouting, but inside, it felt strangely still. Mama finally spoke. "Chiamaka, this is not the life I wanted for us. But at least we have our freedom. That is something no one can take." I nodded, but my mind was far away, thinking about my father in a prison cell, replaying every moment that led us here. I wondered if he was lying awake too, regretting the choices he had made. Weeks passed. Mama found work as an administrative clerk at a small law firm. We started saving, dreaming of moving into a modest flat of our own. Life wasn't easy, but it was honest. One afternoon, as I walked home from school, I passed by our old street. The house still stood, its paint fading, the gate locked. Neighbors whispered as I walked by, some with pity, others with judgment. I realized then that a person's name could be rebuilt, but only with truth and time. The moral was clear to me: lies may shine for a season, but truth is the sun, it will rise, no matter how dark the night. My father's collapse in court wasn't just from a weak heart, it was from years of carrying the weight of his own deceit. And as for me, I learned that defending the truth will cost you, but losing it will cost you far more.